Hey guys, today I will show a short recap of the 2015 American epic Western survival adventure movie, The Revenant. The movie begins with Hugh Glass, a fur trapper on a fur trading expedition, dreaming of his wife and son, where he advises his son not to give up no matter how hard the circumstances. In the following scene, Glass hunts down an elk with two fellows, his son Hawk and Jim, a frontiersman and scout, a few distances away from the rest of the team in the wilderness. Jim goes to request an extra hand from the rest of the team to carry the elk they had caught, but suddenly they come under heavy attack from the native Indian warrior tribe called the Arikara, also known as Ree. A lot of men are lost from the ambush as Glass, and the remaining survivors escape on a boat in a river nearby with as much pelt and furs as they can carry. After the attack, the leader of the Ree searches for his daughter Pawaka but cannot find her. Glass and the rest of his expedition team sail on a river and anchor at the side of a mountain. They offload their goods and plan on the next course of action because the Ree warriors are still hunting them down, and they have to escape to Fort Kiowa, a fur trading post located on the Missouri River between modern Chamberlain, South Dakota, and the Big Bend of the Missouri. While on their way, a man named Fitzgerald, a trapper, rants and questions their captain's orders. Fitzgerald accuses Glass of killing an officer and mocks him for having a half-breed son as he tries to make trouble with Glass, but Glass avoids engaging him and polishes his rifle instead. The captain intervenes and stops Fitzgerald. He reminds them of the danger they are in with the Rees hunting for them and orders everyone to get to work. The following morning, Glass and the rest of the team start their journey into the wilderness with Fitzgerald still ranting about as usual, and they camp at night to rest. The next morning Glass strays from the rest of his team into the forest to hunt when he is attacked by a fully grown grizzly bear trying to protect her cubs. Glass manages to injure the bear with a gunshot from his rifle as they both roll down a slope. Glass men who heard his gunshot locate him and find him severely injured and incapacitated by the bear. They treat his wounds and stitch him up as Fitzgerald rants about again, saying that Glass shouldn't have fired a shot because the sound could help the Rees hunt them and pinpoint their location. Seeing the severity of the injuries sustained by Glass from the bear, Fitzgerald suggests that they kill Glass instead of allowing him to live in torture and die a few days later since he has a slim chance of surviving. He also backs it with the fact that carrying wounded Glass would slow down their movement, allowing the Rees on the hunt to catch them. Meanwhile, the leader of the Arikara, also known as Ree, traded the skins they had acquired from the ambush on Americans with the French for horses and rifles in a bid to look for his kidnapped daughter. The Americans continue their journey in the next scene as they take turns in carrying Glass. When they cannot climb a hill carrying Glass along, the captain analyzes the situation and decides to kill Glass since carrying Glass, who was incapacitated, would slow them down and put them all at risk of death or capture by the Rees hunting for them. When the captain could not kill Glass because, of course, Glass was one of his men and they had come a long way together, he offered a price for two men who would stay behind and watch over Glass. Fitzgerald agrees to a $300 offer to stay behind as well as Jim and Glass' son Hawk. Knowing the manner of man Fitzgerald, the captain tells him to make sure he watches over Glass till the outcome and gives Glass a proper burial when he dies. With the rest of the team gone, Fitzgerald digs a grave close by while Glass dreams of his late wife and his son and is comforted by the dream. The following day, with Jim away getting water, Fitzgerald attempts to suffocate Glass to death, but Hawk comes in time to the rescue. Hawk, not strong enough to face Fitzgerald, gets stabbed and dragged away by Fitzgerald while calling out for Jim, and Glass can only watch as he can't move because of his injuries. In the evening, when Jim arrives, Fitzgerald lies to him about Hawk, saying he had wandered away. The following day, Fitzgerald wakes Jim early in the morning and lies to him about an imminent attack from the Rees, who are close by. They bury Glass in a shallow grave and flee, just as Fitzgerald had planned. Following Fitzgerald's orders to flee, Jim drops his bottle of water, which has an inscription on it, with Glass and runs along with Fitzgerald. In the next scene, Glass crawls out of the shallow grave he was in and crawls to where Fitzgerald had left his son's corpse, Hawk. He mourns him and sleeps off. Meanwhile, Jim finds out that Fitzgerald had lied to him about the Rees and that leaving Glass behind was his plan all along. The next scene shifts to Glass waking up from his sleep and crawling away. The Rees, looking for Pawaka, the daughter of their leader, soon arrive at the place Glass, Hawk, Jim, and Fitzgerald had been, and they find Hawk's corpse covered in the snow. The rest of Glass' team, who had left him behind in the care of Fitzgerald, travels through the snow and ice in the following scene while Glass crawls for days, surviving on anything edible. On one of the days of Glass' sojourn, he comes in close contact with the Rees but luckily escapes when a river carries him away. The next scene shows Fitzgerald and Jim arriving at an empty village which had just been raided. Luckily for them, they find 2 horses. They camp at night, where Fitzgerald tells a story to Jim about how his father had founded religion. Glass wakes from a dream in the next scene. Starving, he hunts for a fish and continues his sojourn, this time walking on his feet with the support of a stick. He arrives at a hill with many buffaloes and passes the night there. He wakes in the middle of the night to find a native Indian feeding on a buffalo hunted down by some other animal. He communicates with the native Indian, telling him he comes in peace and asking for a piece of meat as he is starving. The native Indian throws him a portion of the meat, which Glass hunches hungrily, and goes back to sleep. The next morning, the native Indian wakes Glass after inspecting his wounds, and they both tell each other about their ordeal, as they had both lost their family. He tells Glass that revenge is in the hands of the Creator. The native Indian proposes to travel along with Glass on his donkey, and they journey through the wilderness together. After days of traveling through the wilderness, Fitzgerald and Jim arrive at the American Fort Kiowa. Fitzgerald asks Jim not to tell their captain what happened with Glass and Hawk, and when they speak with the captain, Fitzgerald gives a false account of what happened to Glass and Hawk. As agreed, the captain rewards Fitzgerald and Jim with cash, though Jim, whose conscience is eating him up, declines the cash and leaves the room. Glass and the native Indian continue their sojourn on the donkey through the wilderness under a heavy snowfall when Glass passes out on the donkey's back. The native Indian quickly attends to Glass. He cuts down tree branches, builds a small room for Glass, and sets up a little fire to keep him warm from the cold. Glass dreams all night of him and his son reuniting in his sleep. The following morning, Glass wakes and finds 2 kegs of water left behind by the native Indian. He journeys further into the wilderness, shocked to find the native Indian hanging dead on a tree pole. He finds a group of French men ahead and hides from them. Meanwhile, the leader of the Ree, still searching for Powaka, his kidnapped daughter, is informed by one of his scouts about a camp 2 days away. Hopeful, the Ree leader gets his men ready to leave. In the evening, Glass still hides from the French, who now had Powaka, the daughter of the leader of the Ree. The French eat and drink merrily when one of them orders for Powaka to be brought forth so he can fulfill his pleasures with her. Glass manages to find his way to where the French kept their horses to recapture the donkey he had traveled on, which was now in possession of the French. While stealthily saddling the donkey, Glass sees one of the French men named Toussaint dragging Powaka close by as he begins to rape her. Glass crawls stealthily and catches the French man off guard and hands him over to Powaka for her to do justice to him. The rest of the French men are alarmed when they find out Toussaint is missing, as the Frenchman chases and fires shots at him. Glass leaves behind the bottle Jim had given him days ago when he was put in a shallow grave. Powaka also escapes from the Frenchmen's claws. Glass, who had escaped the Frenchmen, passes the night at the base of a tree where he dreams of his wife and son again. He wakes in the morning to the sounds of movement of the Frenchmen coming after him. He manages to get on his donkey and jumps down the hill. His donkey dies from the impact of jumping such a high distance and freezing from the cold as it snowed. He cuts open the donkey, empties its bowels and sleeps inside the donkey's corpse unclad. He gets up the following morning, dresses up and continues his journey through the wilderness. At nightfall, he spends the night in a cave where he writes on the wall that Fitzgerald killed his son. In the next scene, a man staggers to the Americans' fort, and they interrogate him when he enters. Jim recognizes the bottle on which he had drawn an inscription from the man and asks him where he found it. Seeing the bottle, Fitzgerald senses that Glass might still be alive as the captain orders his men to get ready to scout the forest where the bottle was found. At night in the wilderness, the captain and his men are shocked when they find Glass alive. They saddle him up and take him to the fort. At the fort, the captain finds out that Fitzgerald had the fort for Texas. He also finds out that the safe where money was kept had been robbed by Fitzgerald. Angry, he confronts Jim about leaving Glass as been dead in the wilderness. Jim pleads he was innocent, but the captain orders that he be locked up on treason charges. Glass is taken to the clinic to be treated, where he informs the captain that Fitzgerald killed his son, Hawk, and his plans to take vengeance on Fitzgerald. The captain refuses Glass' plea to follow him to hunt down Fitzgerald for leaving him to die and killing his son, but Glass is able to convince the captain, who finally agrees to allow him to hunt down Fitzgerald and take his revenge on him. The next morning, Glass sets out with the captain to hunt down fleeing Fitzgerald. They follow the tracks he had left behind the previous day and arrive at a spot where they parted ways, with Glass going west and the captain going east. Shortly, the captain comes in contact with Fitzgerald, who is hostile, pointing a rifle at him. He informs Fitzgerald that he wants to take him back to Fort Kiowa, where he would be trialed for murder, but Fitzgerald kills him when they fire to shoot at themselves. Meanwhile, Glass, who went in the west direction, hears the sound of the gunshot and turns back towards the direction the sound came from. He finds the captain dead when he arrives at the scene and carries him on a horse as he continues hunting Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald catches sight of Glass from a distance and shoots him. When he gets to the scene, he finds out it is a trap as Glass attacks him, injuring his arm with a bullet wound. Glass chases him deep into the ice forest, and when he catches up with him, they fight each other with a knife and an axe. Grappling each other, they sustain injuries from the sharp weapons they wielded, with Glass dominating and gaining the fight. The movie ends with the Arikara Indians, also known as the Ree, arriving at the other end of the stream, and Glass recalls what his native Indian friend had told him earlier, that revenge is in the hands of God. He then slides Fitzgerald across the stream to the other end where the Rees were. The movie ends with the Ree leader, who had found Pawaka, his daughter, capturing Fitzgerald and killing him as they continued their sojourn. They spare Glass because he had saved Pawaka from the French captivity days ago. So that's it for today, guys. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to cheer people around you. If you like this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for daily content like this.